The man never expected this. My infinite gacha skill that the team dislikes. Unexpectedly, he fell to the bottom of the maze. Triggered hidden features. It directly summoned a level 9999 super. Rare minions. Even the legendary Black Dragon exerted a slight pressure on him. It then turned into fragments of blood. Moreover, this skill can be drawn an unlimited number of times. Even a casual draw will yield at least several thousand level subordinates, and everyone obeyed him without question. Only then did he realize what kind of item he had drawn. It actually depends on the magic energy in his surroundings. In other words, the harsher the environment, the easier it is to produce sperm. Not only that, the man also possesses extraordinary energy. Therefore, after obtaining absolute power, his first act was to exact revenge on the world. It turns out that just a short time ago, the inexperienced male protagonist bids farewell to his family, aspiring to become an excellent adventurer. However, because his skills were too useless, I can only make a living by doing hard labor, like carrying firewood and hauling. I barely earned enough to cover my accommodation expenses after a hard day's work. But unexpectedly, he was targeted by someone. They stole them all. The male protagonist wants to rebel. Humans are among the 9 major races. It is the least popular. Nobody was willing to help. Just then, an elf suddenly appeared. Not only did they lend a helping hand, she even knelt on the ground to gently comfort him. The male protagonist felt as if he was dreaming, but the elf said, he is a member of the racial alliance team. The team has now assembled 8 parts. We are just 1 person short. All members of this team. They are all top-tier players with over 100 levels. The male protagonist is just a level 15 newbie. In this underground arena, where life and death hang in the balance. If one misses, he might die on the spot. But the team members not only didn't think of it. Instead, he comforted him, saying that he only needed to be in charge of logistics. The captain even said, I like the tea you brew. That alone is enough. The male protagonist thought he had done something really exciting, but little did I expect that such happy days would only last a short time. It lasted all day. They embarked on an exploration mission to Narori. But before they could go deeper, the male protagonist was suddenly and inexplicably kicked out of the team. Originally from the beginning, his partner was always acting. The reason is the male protagonist image with other people. A rare bonus called Infinite Gacha has been added. The higher-ups suspected he was the legendary ruler. But through observation over the past 2 years, they have confirmed it. The male protagonist's skill is utterly useless. Every time, the stuff they pulled out was all useless junk. Now it seems, the concerns of those in power are completely unfounded. However, information about the overlord cannot be disseminated. They decided to get rid of the male lead immediately. After receiving the order, the werewolf was very excited. His favorite group was the hunters. The male protagonist wanted to escape, but I never expected the gentlest experience to be with me. The arrow of trust pierced his own leg. Seeing this, the werewolf kicked him. Then he kept humiliating the male protagonist. Fortunately, the captain stopped him in time. The goal is to make the male protagonist appear to be possessed by a monster. Died after being washed away. It's best to avoid creating too many wounds. After hearing this, the werewolf plans to learn more about the South in the next season. Unexpectedly, the male lead's will to survive was so strong. After climbing out 2.5 meters, it triggered the maze's teleportation trap. By the time the blind person realized what was happening, it was too late. The male protagonist was teleported directly to the bottom of the maze. Reflecting on what my teammates just did, the male protagonist vows to take revenge. But unexpectedly, I turned around and saw a 100 episode model. This kind of monster is definitely beyond my ability to resist. In a moment of desperation, the only skill he could think of was infinity. So, in his strong will to survive, driven by a desire for revenge, he suppressed the coldness of love. The next second, unbelievable things happened. A wind desire, you, who are still alive, should not speak. However, to the male protagonist's great surprise, he defeated that 1,000 plus bird in less than a week. Before the male protagonist could react, the fox had already. The maid healed all his wounds with a single gesture, and vowed to be absolutely ready. This made the male protagonist feel somewhat flattered. He didn't think he could pull out such a notebook. Seeing that the male lead didn't believe her, made multiple patrons opened up the regulatory loop. The result was a shocking discovery. The male protagonist was wrapped in layers of car wrappings. If not at the same level as oneself, you absolutely cannot tell the difference between the eggs. The male protagonist's infinite gacha is practically a divine artifact. Not only can you draw cards an unlimited number of times, etc., the level will even change with the concentration of magic power. In other words, if it were on ordinary ground, only garbage can be extracted. But this is the lowest level of the world's most dangerous maze. Now, we can pull out such an amazing. It is not surprising that there were attendants. As for the male protagonist's solo adventure to this place, the maid was very touched. After all, the male protagonist's current ability level is still very low. Encountering any monster could be life-threatening. But from now on, you don't need to worry anymore. The maid swore she would protect him closely. Little did they know that this was actually fog. The male protagonist had no choice but to tell the truth. I thought the maid would look down on me. Little did they know that the opposite was true. As long as the male lead comes down, even if the maid were to risk her life, we must also kick those scumbags' heads back to the man. However, the male protagonist said no, because he wanted to take revenge himself. Then he also needs to find the people the country wants to kill him. I already want to know what the ruler is. Meets cut of Kyuku La third of you, Umro. But I made a lonely cock in the sunrise to the day. That I keep. What you see. I'm so sad. That I could. This, you know that. What? This could be happening. Come, leave me. Auntie. so he stayed in the deepest part of the dungeon for 3 years. Powerful monsters at the bottom level and training partners for gacha characters. The male protagonist's strength increases rapidly. Right now, he's relying solely on his physical strength. You can reach level 7,777. Jack, known for his steel drive tactics, has, ouch, presumably, such strength. It should be enough for me to launch the Avengers. However, just to be on the safe side, before leaving the dungeon, he still issued orders to the other Golden Legends. The new command instructed the genius Beast Tamer Kings, responsible for exploring and creating maps of the surrounding area. There are still unresolved emergencies. Let the magician Ali conduct research on new types of magic. Because they are both Golden Legends, the White Cat Warrior, though not very bright. The male protagonist arranged the simplest job for him. That is, to patrol every day, a kingdom where no outsiders will ever enter. Several people gathered together. The road behind the door. It's the path to leave the bottom of the dungeon. It is also a place where underground monsters gather. However, without a good conversation in the Golden Legend. This place has been turned into the male protagonist's training ground. Looking at the person in front of me, who is taller than myself, much lower strength. Ziggs always seemed to recall the unmistakable scene of being released from prison. A newbie of a few levels encounters a monster of 1,000 levels. Anyone would feel despair if they were sick. However, the world is different now. The current Hell Hunter. The dog was under the powerful aura of the group. I only deserve to be a good dog. The reason for withdrawing the formal summons of several people. That's the only one he's found to seek revenge on. He told them to get ready and set off now. Let's start with the first former teammate. Embark on his path of revenge and his first goal. It was precisely because of that almost. Kuru, the werewolf who killed himself. Kuru in his Awarsi territory. Enjoying the people's waste. If nothing unexpected happens, he is about to be promoted to chieftain of the werewolf clan, and his current achievements. All thanks to joining 3 years ago. An adventure team called Race Collection. This was created by high-level officials from various countries, aimed at finding the great sage who had met with misfortune, and the male protagonist, the first person they suspected. However, 2 years have passed. The male protagonist is still a piece of trash at level several. Soon, the higher-ups issue the execution order. It was Cam who made the move. He didn't expect it either, just a simple cleanup of a suspected. The great sage's human race, having received the current wealth and status. Although the male protagonist was eventually trapped by magic. But considering the opponent's strength, it is absolutely impossible to drag someone through a dangerous dungeon. Go down. Just as he continued to boast and indulge in debauchery with his underlings, May suddenly appeared. He lied and claimed that the male lead was of noble birth, as a maid under her command. They've been searching for the male lead for years. He knew that the male protagonist had once joined a team. Kuro happened to be one of them. He recently learned that the male lead's fate might be uncertain. So he wanted the other person to take him to the male lead. Last appearance. The reward was 3 small yellow croakers. Such a high reward for leading the way. Carlo suspected it was a trap. But women are considered weak, and their status makes them difficult to understand. After thinking it over, Kuro accepted the task anyway. A month passed quickly. Kuro led him to the grass in the Naruo abyss. Looking at Mai Yi's breathless and touching appearance, he had already begun to imagine the scene of ravaging the other person. So we arrived at our destination. Kuro used his eyes. He gestured to his men to block the exit, originally thinking that talent from both countries. Little did they know that what followed was the beginning of their nightmare. At this moment, Mai no longer concealed her true feelings. He finally understood the despair his master had felt. Bow hard to the 1. My heart. Me too. Those who know about this, only money matters to people and a very small number of high-ranking officials. Does that mean women are considered lowly in other countries? But Mai Yi doesn't like such insulting words. She's a woman who's only loyal to the male lead. Sudden, a powerful micropressure was released from May's body. The power of magic was transformed into airflow. This made Kuro instantly realize that something was wrong, but they were simply not people I could handle. And the way the other person looked at me, he definitely wants to kill himself here. The appearance of the male protagonist Kuro found even more incredible, but he quickly persevered. Saying he wants revenge is just wishful thinking. Based on the male protagonist's weak level 15 strength, Kuro roughly guessed why the male protagonist survived. That was being saved by the woman behind me. It's just a group of 2 people. How could there be so many adversaries? Now, he'll make the male protagonist face reality. The 2 underlings then followed instructions. Go and get the male protagonist's life. However, before they even reached the male protagonist, it was cut down by Mai Yi, who teleported away. The male protagonist was very grateful to Mai for her help, but I'll leave the rest to myself. At this moment, Kuro told his men to remain calm. I was just ambushed. Ultimately, the 2 people in front of them were just humans. He made the male protagonist see clearly. I earned the income from 158 episodes. If the human race had a strawman like himself, it's not like it's at the very bottom. However, the male protagonist's calm gaze made him very uneasy. So he told his underlings not to join the attack. As a result, the male protagonist only slightly raised his hand. They were all sent flying. Kuro couldn't accept this disparity. He decided to stop hiding, pulling out of her breast pocket as a last resort to save her life. That is, to use this magic bead, summon a level 500 monster with split ears. The male protagonist only felt unfortunately, he thought it would be a chance for him to fight. A satisfying opponent. I never expected it to be such trash. Kuro still couldn't figure out the situation. The male protagonist said he would just stand there and not move. Let him face this demand. Kuro showed no mercy. This allowed Fenrir to deliver a fatal blow. Since ancient times, Smoke has after seeing that the male protagonist was safe and sound, I was completely dumbfounded while climbing level 500 strength. Even the male lead's clothes weren't torn. Now, it's the male protagonist's turn to retaliate. The little dog summoned by Karu doesn't even deserve to be called Finmir. Lisa. Amidst the shocked gazes of the crowd, a giant wolf bathed in starlight suddenly appeared. He blew out a breath of air mixed with snowflakes. The Fenrir behind Karu turned into an ice sculpture. It then fell apart. Such a gap in strength. I can't imagine. What kind of monster did the male protagonist summon? Therefore, this is the reason. The male lead also came out. I am a super boss at level 9,999. The robust Carlos panicked completely. The upper limit for human feet should be around 100. And 3 years have passed. The male lead's appearance hasn't changed at all. Could it be that the male lead is an imposter? The male protagonist kindly responded to this. He used an anti-aging bracelet to stop his body from growing. Just to remember that feeling of pain and despair. Karu immediately gave in. Arrogance and tactlessness. He will definitely die here. He felt sorry for hitting men in the past. But those were all orders from the state. He had no choice. Lanzu wanted to know why the country would grow into a dangerous species. Karu was completely unaware of this. His henchmen in order to save their lives. But he said he knew. However, he was ruthlessly and instantly killed because his eyes can see through all lies. Karu immediately urinated upon seeing this. He answered the male protagonist's questions truthfully from then on. The male protagonist wants to know, with our current strength, do ground-based countries have a chance of winning a war? Karu admits that the male protagonist is indeed very strong, but an individual is ultimately an individual. Various countries have been collecting weapons and other items for years. If all those things were taken out, even the male lead couldn't handle it. After listening, the male protagonist immediately used the teleportation card to take Karu to his underground kingdom. He walked step by step toward his own throne. At the same time, make the prime ministers reveal their ranks. Then I asked Karu the same question again. This time, however, Karu remained silent, but his face gradually turned pale. The male protagonist was very satisfied with this answer. Beginning at sunset. Hope. The male protagonist reaches 9,000 in the maze, returning to Earth after 999 episodes. His first priority was to return to his hometown to find a husband. All that was left was ruins. After burying his parents and fellow villagers with his own hands. Fortunately, there was still a glimmer of hope. That is, the bodies of the brother and sister were not seen. Regarding the destruction of the village, male protagonist gasped. This is related to his previous recognition as a great sage. He really wanted to know what a so-called sage was. So much so that such a ruthless blockade by high-ranking officials of various countries around the world. Although the news came from former teammate Karuna, he learned that he probably possessed the power to sweep across the world, but that was just his personal opinion. Before having a full understanding of the strength of each country, it's better to keep a low profile. What to do now? It means going to the nearby city. The town reissued an adventure card, etc., machine card, to avoid being found by former teammates. This time, he specially prepared the visuals. Only when adventure rank reaches S or higher. Only then would he have the possibility of obtaining more closely guarded information. Seeing that they were about to fly to the town, let's switch to a more discreet walking route next. Along the way, we saw a group of people being robbed by dwarves. Seeing this, the male protagonist asked his subordinates to lend a hand. Thinking of the father and son I saved, I happened to run a hotel in town. So we decided to go together, since we were going the same. Upon learning that the male protagonist was continuously increasing his adventure level, the man said, Dags is indeed a good choice. This is the southernmost point of the dwarf kingdom, and the human kingdom to the east, and fairies or traffic police, although clashes between nations occur from time to time. But this town is known for its exceptional maze quality. This attracted adventurers of many different races. So it's different from what you'd imagine anime to be like. On the contrary, it became unusually arriving in town. The male protagonist parted ways with his two. This was the first time his subordinates had ever been to a city on the ground. I was slightly curious as I looked at the bustling street. But that's all. After all, their level 5,000 strength is undeniable. I have no interest in ordinary matters at all. The three then went to the Adventurers Guild. Humanity remains at the lowest level of existence. When seeing other races passing by, they will always humbly give way. It seems the situation is the same everywhere. New players all start their adventure rank from IG. But Nemum, he felt this was an insult to his master. Strength of level 9,999. I can only get the lowest adventure rank. It should be at least S class or super S class. However, rules are rules. The male protagonist is disgusted by his subordinates' lack of manners. Apologize to the front desk. Indicates from IP, just start. After registration, then we need to find a place to stay. He chose the hotel where the father and son had stayed before. To avoid being disturbed, I rented the entire top floor. Then the male protagonist. I used magic cards to lay out the layout of the whole house. Me moo moo. I don't quite understand the significance of the male protagonist personally conducting the investigations. He believed that the male protagonist only needed to stay in our room. Then you can issue commands. But this statement, the scene immediately touched upon the male protagonist's unpleasant feelings. Therefore, it was a way for him to give up the opportunity to take revenge himself. Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, cutting off an ear and smoothing things over immediately. Men are those who know there is danger. But there's still one thing in life that I have to do. His words instantly jolted the male protagonist awake. His obsession with revenge actually affected his very essence. He apologized to Nee's mother. It was clearly for safety reasons. Yet he himself did such an outrageous thing. Nee Moo Moo also felt somewhat guilty about this. He shouldn't have interfered with the decisions made by his master. Therefore, if possible, please ask him to reaffirm his oath of allegiance. Upon hearing this, the male lead was momentarily embarrassed. It turns out he was an Jones' approach is to kiss the male lead from his angle. He saw this as a demonstration of his absolute loyalty. Such operability. What? Can a boy always find fault with making you happy? Okay, you said it's necessary to take me there. You is coming. Chicken bear. Haha, bear, I'll take it. Early the next morning, the male protagonist and his group then headed to the local maze. Only by bringing back evidence that is somewhat vaguely presented can we obtain the necessary increase your adventure level. I didn't expect to arrive so early. A long queue still formed at the entrance. Suddenly, 3 unidentified people wearing hats. He cut in front of the line. Pretending to look, the shortest one should be the attendant. The white hat looks like it's been used for a workout. However, he has many flaws. The green-hatted man carrying a large weapon. He didn't finish eating at all. He must be the strongest of the 3. The 4 people who were cut in line were somewhat unhappy, but there was also the fear that the other person might be of a higher race. Fortunately, the male protagonist stepped forward at this moment. He told them to obediently go to the back of the line. Difficulties of the soul. I never expected to be taught a lesson by the hunted boar. He was furious and wanted to take action, but they were stopped by another person in their group. If you have other motives, don't cause trouble. There was nothing the blonde guy could do but curse. He walked to the back of the line with a grin. The male protagonist's actions truly boosted the morale of his people. Immediately, a cheer erupted from the surrounding crowd. The line quickly reached the male lead. Mazes appearing all over the world. They are different in size and type. The origin of the maze has become unsolved mysteries of the world. To unlock the secrets of the maze, this requires analyzing the maze and Naruto. The lowest level is already the male protagonist's base camp, but now, the most knowledgeable magic. Even loving you cannot force it. The deeper you go in the maze, the stronger the magic becomes. And in the maze, everything was created by that magic. Just like the world before their eyes. To avoid attracting attention, obtain evidence of monsters faster. The male protagonist immediately took out 3 cards with the ability to see aura, concealment, and flight. Then it flew towards the next level. And directly below them, the blonde elf was still acting strangely. He is a fairy. Knights who inherited the blood of heroes and warriors. Genius level 1500. Extraordinary strength. It's unbelievable that someone so weak would be rented out, and so where would he put his face if word got out? This is why White Cat Genie made his business early. Their purpose in this trip was to help him improve. Level cap. All I need is peace and stability. Go to the 3rd floor to collect materials from the giant. Little did they know that the male protagonist was already wreaking havoc on the 3rd floor. He has already dealt with all 4 giants. Next, all you need to do is carry the pattern from inside the giant's body back to the ground. Adventure level. On the way back, I helped solve the ventilation problem. Foot novel. Experience from someone who's been there. A reminder to a few young people, while keeping an eye on the enemy ahead. We must always be vigilant about what's behind us. Just then, a gust of wind darted through the nearby forest. Many demon wolves appeared. It turns out they were just facing an even more powerful enemy. Seeing this, the 4 felt despair. How could it be that they simply couldn't fight? The 4 armed halt. Seeing this, the group asked the male protagonist to join them in fighting while driving. However, they had no idea of the male protagonist's strength. A level 500 monster is just a toy, right? But in order to conceal their strength, the 3 male protagonists still released the entire Pacific Ocean. Even so, he casually released a fireball. The girl was so startled that she fell down. This was the first time he had ever seen a human. You can use magic like this. Then the male protagonist's subordinates also began their assembly. It was clearly using a shield for defense. When the mantis attacks with its scythe. However, it was bounced back by fragments with normal elasticity. In one season, he returned to the right and turned to face the opponent's leg, knowing he was no match for the people in front of him. The mantis monster immediately tried to escape. However, the male lead hadn't finished pretending yet. A card image flashed through my hand. A musket suddenly appeared in front of the mantis. Startled, he hurriedly flapped his wings, which he hadn't used in a long time. However, Neonyu's bone marrow was quickly maxed out. It would allow him to escape easily. Randomly jump a big leap. After completing the sand flying maneuver in the air, they found the corresponding pattern in the course. It should be able to bring the adventurers reach a decent level. Long cup jack drum. Thank you. Thank you. Mother, guys, cue the star. Yeah. Kakatasano, you des eat. More 6 months, no books. A few of us had dinner together in the evening. The girl was absolutely in awe of the male lead. You should know that in this world, the magic device is divided into 3 levels. Combat level is similar to fire. Single target attack magic of balls and ice cones. The male protagonist later released a wide range of. Firewall is tactical level. The more powerful ones are called strategic level. Shen Yu was a victim of tsunamis and earthquakes. Magic that has an impact on the world. That would require several magicians working together. To achieve this, one must demonstrate one's first level of magic. He only saw it in higher races. It's hard to imagine. It's amazing that there's a male protagonist among the weak human race. Although my brother didn't quite understand how serious it was. But he believes his sister can also become the person who performs magic. He received magic at such a young age. College recommendation. Both parents died. What my brother wants to do is be an adventurer. Then send desert items in the underground level. Earning money to support my sister's schooling. Scenes before my eyes. The shock reminded the male protagonist of his younger sister. I just hope that one day I can find him. The next day, the male protagonist. The collected patterns are sent to the Adventurers Guild. Besides making money, the most important thing is to improve your adventure skills. This is the first time I've seen anyone at the front desk. The clan can bring such power. Dance and the first meeting are different. A complete 180-degree turn in attitude. However, settlement takes time. If you don't mind, please have the male lead stay for lunch at the guild. However, the male protagonist didn't want to waste time on this. While waiting, go to the underground level and run some dungeons. Get a higher level mode. Continue to increase your adventure level. I just didn't expect that in just half a day. The 3 male protagonists defeated a level 500 mushroom. The news spread throughout the entire town. Hearing is deceiving, seeing is believing. Other races still don't quite trust humans. Such a remarkable person has emerged. The male protagonist is prepared to let his abilities speak for themselves. Upon entering the dungeon, proceed directly to the 5th floor. The pattern there is enough to cause congestion. Everyone's mouth. However, I met my companion from last night again during the flight. This time, the girl handed the male protagonist a family heirloom for burns. The medicine was only because he heard the male protagonist. The reason for wearing a mask is that I have scars on my face. Such a kind act made the male protagonist feel very gratified. He secretly took out an SF to Chian bracelet as a response to a girl's character. I am so precious. After parting ways, the 3 male protagonists arrived at the 5th. The task of fighting monsters was left to his 2 subordinates. He teleported back to base camp first. Handle matters related to the subsequent revenge plan. The other group had been waiting for a long time. In fact, all the plans and other cases are progressing in an orderly manner. It seems my return was somewhat superfluous. Let's have a coffee before we go. Nighttime in the underground level. A pair of people, the adventurers were all killed by the ferryman. Only one person was left behind as a tool for the experiment. The man still wanted to escape, but the huge gap in strength. It's not a ticket he can just run away with. To solve the problem of the upper limit of the Pokemon strength, White Hair is preparing to conduct an evil experiment. And humanity is a key part of this. The male protagonist collected a lot of high gluten from the underground level. Warcraft's golden box. I was planning to continuously increase my adventurer level, but too rapid promotion. The speed made things a bit difficult for the Adventurers Guild's front desk. So, I hope the male lead can complete a difficult task. This way, he could also give his superiors an explanation. That evening, the male protagonist checked the details of his mission. It appeared from underground. Specialized hunters of human adventurers. However, the other party's identity is unknown. The male protagonist also did not have any tools for searching. I was thinking of calling people from headquarters to help. Sudden, he sensed something unusual about the space in the room. A small figure appeared from the distorted vortex. The woman's figure. It turned out to be a woman covered in wounds who had fainted, as the red string on his wrist broke. The male protagonist knew it was a prop he had given him. Please have a seat. It seems the other party is facing a huge crisis. Emergency. The male protagonist hurriedly released healing magic. Immediately afterwards, used sleep magic and understand what's happening to him. It turns out that the assassin's adventures have already made. The humans in the underground level were filled with fear and unease. Everyone else is a companion. Let Mia and the others hurry up and leave this place. Seeing this, the older brother quickly packed his luggage. I was thinking of getting close to the entrance in Jinan before dark. However, the heavy luggage made. They hadn't even reached halfway. Just as the group was taking a short rest, a voice rang out. The person who arrived was none other than the elf male Kai, whom I had met while queuing. The customer assumed the other person was also an adventurer. The killer's escape. Unexpectedly, Kate broke down. I am the killer they are talking about. The 4 people were terrified upon hearing this. After realizing it, 3 people left their chance to live to you. However, this scene was simply an insult to Kate. 4 level 10 plus human races still want it. It's impossible for it to escape from my own level 1500 self. The warning knife seriously injured the older brother. The other 2 wanted to step forward and help. It was also cut in half. The white cat behind Kate was heartbroken. The number of people conducting experiments was already pitifully small. Finally found 4. Only 1 person was left alive. Rice on the side. Ya collapsed to the ground, stunned by the scene before her. Suddenly, brother's voice came again. He told Mia to run fast while he stayed behind to buy time. Kate's overwhelming strength made her momentarily excited. I want to see what kind of tricks the 2 of them will come up with. However, what he didn't expect was, the boy in front of me doesn't play by the rules at all. After throwing the longsword, he actually attacked with his shield. He didn't react in time. The other party slapped his proud face. This instantly enraged Kate. Who cares about the white cat's demand for a living person? A magical egg shot out from the longsword, directly penetrated the boy's body. Even so, the boy still had a faint consciousness. This is absolutely essential for conducting the experiment. A woman was chosen, so the white cat hurriedly stepped forward to stop her. Is it better to pursue a girl who sings off key, or to be more practical? The most urgent thing is if the other party really sings off key, and to tell others about it. Then both of our lives would be in danger. After some consideration, Kate turned and chased after someone. He quickly caught up with you while you were running using flying magic. Like the people in a certain place, wasting so much of my time. Kate needs to teach the girl a lesson. At the critical moment, Mia thought of the male lead. He stroked the red ribbon the male protagonist had given him. Pray that this miracle will happen. Fortunately, the Kiwon bracelet came in time. The male protagonist, who had learned what had happened, they immediately decided to go to the underground temple. Now, meanwhile, the white-haired girl is arguing with Kate. A whopping 1,500 episodes. A human girl actually got away. Kate didn't expect you either. He even had a crab dance teleportation item on him. If the other party runs away, their identities will soon be exposed. If word gets to the fairy kingdom. So, what about Kate stealing the National Health Service? Reporters. Nation, the group, with its imposing aura, might launch a manhunt for the 2 of them. The thought that the guild leader is a level 3000 powerhouse, Kate couldn't help but feel bitter. Right now, we can only send. Hopefully, this will be an experiment to break through the level cap, then find a secluded spot to hide and level up. With Kate's talent, I will definitely surpass the team leader in the future. Can't you come see Fast in my show? If the male lead hadn't spoken up first, neither of them noticed the other's approach. Looking at the 2 people on the ground, become a companion to someone you used to chat with. The male protagonist felt very sorry. Running alongside Mia's brother, he persevered until his own arrival. He then cast a healing spell as a warning. In an instant, the boy's wounds healed completely. Next, he wanted to show Kate what cruelty was. Women's tribe, men, the Lord's great spike. Kate took the lead and did not. However, the giant sword he wielded was easily brought down by the male protagonist. The attacks are repeated no matter how many times they occur. The male protagonist felt bored. Find the gap. Sniper staff strikes directly into the abdomen. The simplest basic attack. But Kate's face was twisted from being hit. This scene stunned the white-haired man. The universally acknowledged weak human race. How could there be such a powerful person as the male protagonist? Kate, whose business had collapsed, also didn't believe such a thing. He holds the guarantee of the fairy kingdom. How could he not be a match for the male lead? Seeing that the opponent was launching a magical bombardment, the male lead also decided to show off his skills. The moment she whispered, thousands of ice arrows appeared above her head. Are you kidding me? Can this give a person enough strength? Kate, who lacks attention to detail, still wants to try her best. However, all of this was in vain. All attack methods, All were precisely propelled by the male protagonist's warships. Sword-shaped Kate has become delirious. He is a person with the bloodline of a ruler. How could we lose to mere humans? The male protagonist who heard this, it felt effortless. Adventurers with their own life. I just want to hear about such rebellious acts as the ruler. Unexpectedly, there was an opportunity to acquire it right in front of source of information. This part has betrayed the bonds of the youth. Ability comeback, revenge as the core. In another world, sail, with a narrative that combines exhilaration and depth. Becoming one of the most talked about works in the new series. The innovative concept is the biggest highlight of the remake. In a worldview where humans are considered a superior race. The protagonist, Wright, is a porter from a team with thin breasts. Awakening after being betrayed. Infinite twisting skill. Summon a powerful partner of level 9,999. The Gachapon system breaks the traditional world livelihood routine. Each summon brings an unknown surprise. It also contains a metaphor for the acquisition of power. Wright's rise from despair, a story of growth without light. Infectious. His hypocrisy stands in stark contrast to that of his former teammates. Absolute loyalty of new partners. This adds a touch of warmth to the path of revenge. The perilous scenes of the Dinara Labyrinth. Battle scenes with high-level companions. Creates a strong visual impact. The remake incorporates profound reflections into its enjoyable narrative, exploring prejudice and equality through the premise of racial discrimination. Wright's revenge journey. Reflecting on the relationship between power and responsibility. The production quality continues the excellent art style of the Aoi anime adaptation. The characters' expressions and combat effects are vivid and three-dimensional. This part of the plot tends to be formulaic, but the fast pace and the constantly twisting plot still let the work withdraw. He couldn't help but fulfill the audience's expectations for Missy's pleasure tools. Beyond entertainment, it leaves behind reflections on humanity, social reflections, to become a noteworthy contender in the 2025 World Sailing Championships. Do